Hey, everybody, how you doing? 4 in a row. All right. Welcome to PHLY Flyers post-game presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name's Bill Matz. I'm here, as are you. Thank you all very much. And that is Mr. Flyperbole, Steve Jaco. We appreciate and love all of your support as you stick with us through the end of this season, which is apparently going to be brutal. The Flyers are 0-4 on this 7-game homestand thus far. What were they being outscored 14-5? So add another, what was it now, 17-6? They've been outscored on this homestand.
Oh, is that all?
It is going poorly, and the natives are once again getting restless. We got, I guess, our favorite thing, a Matvei Michkov benching today. The Devils without Jack Hughes and without Dougie Hamilton kind of just, I don't know, cruise through a boring game. Like it really started like they're showing in during the pregame, like right when we finished up, there was still a few minutes of the TNT pregame show. And they're showing a lot of the physicality, like that sealer hit from a few games ago, that home and home that started with the sealer hit. Then there's the hit on Owen Tippett, and they've got Nick Deslauriers chatting at center ice. I'm like, all right, maybe the Devils are on a 3-game losing streak of their own. Flyers trying to end it. Both teams kind of just trying to focus themselves, get back into things, spark their own energy because it's a little rough for both right now. Maybe we get a fight right away or something. Yeah, there was just nothing. There was just nothing going on for the majority of this game after the first few Deslauriers shifts where he's like just trying to fight and no one wants him. And then that was pretty much that.
Smartest thing the Devils could have done was just sit back and not fight Nick Deslauriers and just give the Flyers no juice at all. The Flyers didn't have juice. Man, like, I know. So no. Kelly came in yesterday to the BSH Slack and was like, did Scott Laughton going really affect these guys as much? I'm like, no, it's the AHL roster that's in there. And now I'm like, I don't know. They look pretty dead. And I think it's not so much necessarily Scott Laughton, but it's the cell that might have these guys down, like, which is what the Flyers needed to do. This team was not going to win the Stanley Cup this year, so they needed to sell. But it does seem like the cell has affected these guys. And I just have to say, my player of the game is Travis Sanheim, because that man's commitment to the tank is next level. Because that penalty he took when the Flyers got it to 2-1 late.
Yeah.
Travis Sanheim said, we can't have this. We can't be tying this game up, getting that loser point in overtime. No, sir. I'm going to take a very unnecessary penalty while we're trying to get our goalie off the ice.
Honestly, that's a team leader right there, is Travis Sanheim. No, that was at second intermission before the third started. I even tweeted, like, I almost want to bet this is going to overtime just so it doesn't happen, because we all know my record this season. Like, just so it doesn't happen, because my God, it's only 2-0. It's not like it's 4. It just felt like one of those, they are going to come out, do this like fake fight back thing, tie it up, and then lose a minute 30 into the 3-on-3. Like, that is exactly how I saw this thing unfolding. So, you know what? I do want Travis Sanheim punished, but also I appreciate your commitment to me, Travis Sanheim, and hopefully getting us one of those top centers in this draft, because
we need it.
If they had tied this game up, Steve, I don't even, if you had been like, Bill, something happened, I can't do post game, I wouldn't have blamed you. If you just like came up with some excuse to me, like, I lost my voice. I lost my voice cheering so hard when they tied it up,
I
can't do post game.
It's hard. I can't talk right now.
But yeah, I agree with like they did. Sean Couturier did say yesterday, like, Scott Laughton, even Eric Johnson, these are guys who give us energy in the room, and we kind of have to step up and figure other ways out to get up for games or get up for a comeback or whatever it might be. And I can appreciate that, but I do think it's maybe more than that. Just the acknowledgement that, yep, this season was like, I have to get yelled at by this lunatic behind the bench every day. And ultimately, it is in service of nothing. Like, if you're a young player, it's about you building a foundation for the rest of your career, proving you're going to be a part of this thing, being on the next great Flyers team, blah, blah, blah. That's your internal motivation. I can't blame Travis Sanheim for doing something dumb today. I can't blame Travis Konechny if he does something like I think it was his turnover that led to that shorthanded chance. They didn't score. Michkov and Risto got back. I just said Risto
Risto,
like Scott Hartnell, the Risto. But like good for them getting back and everything. But like, that's 2 days in a row, a veteran and Rasmus Ristolainen team up for a bad turnover on the power play. Like, this thing is getting away from them. It is hard to blame them, though, because when the front office comes out and goes, yeah, 4 top 9 forwards inside of 38 days, they're all gone. Well, that would be disheartening. Now, they're professionals. They got to play through it and everything. And that gets to, what do you expect them to win? Like, even if they played harder, which I suppose they could have today. I didn't think effort was the issue yesterday. And maybe today it's like, yeah, man, we're on the back end of a back-to-back. What do you want? But
against a better team. Like, let's not forget, like, even without Jack Hughes, the Devils are easily the better team. Like, this is still a good team.
Devils very much struggling. Yeah, but even without those two guys, you look at the two teams on paper and go, yeah, Devils money line. Like, what are you, stupid?
Yeah, what are you, stupid? Come on.
So that's just kind of the story of today's game. It was kind of a snooze. They made it a little interesting at the end. I was positive Drysdale was offside. And whenever I'm like certain and I'm sitting there next to Ava, I'm like, this one ain't going to count. This is, and then it does. She's just like, oh, I thought you were the expert. Like, you got to kick me when I'm down.
La-di-da, Bill. Yeah. Who's smart now? Not you.
Know everything. It does. I was a little surprised they didn't even challenge, but it is what it is. All right,
let's get to they knew what was happening.
Let's get to the main event of today's Flyers discussion. Matvei Michkov sits for the final, let's call it 9 minutes of the first period after New Jersey's first goal. They broke it down at intermission. Like, the replay that you have on NHL.com, it's just like he's late getting back into the zone. But when they break it down on intermission, like, it is, all right, he needs to do a better job. Absolutely. He needs to read the play better, and he needs to work harder to get back. Certainly. I want to know that if after 60 games, he is making the same mistakes, and like, we know it's a cumulative effect thing with Torts. It's not just one. It's like, after I've told you a certain number of times, now I have to take your ice time away. Okay. He's coaching him hard. It's just like, after, I think this is game 62 for Mish, 63. If he's still making the same mistakes, is this not I think we need a different approach situation? Like, I think Torts is a good teacher, but not everyone accepts teaching in the same way. Perhaps, and this is not to absolve Michkov, needs to be better. Absolutely. But, like, I don't know, try something different.
I don't think he's learning anything by sitting either. Like, I need him out there. I need him getting NHL ice time. Also, we've talked about this being half an AHL roster. So, like, what are we doing? We need whatever NHL talent we have out there. And if you're actually trying to win these games, which John Tortorella, there's many things you could say about Tortorella, but, like, there's no denying that even in this loser scenario, he's still trying to win every one of these games, which
Absolutely.
is why he's doing the benching and the teaching and everything, and leaning on guys like Sanheim for way too many minutes and all that. So he's trying to win these games, but it's like, you need your best offensive player in there. And it's Michkov. It's been Michkov since Four Nations easily. Like, and it's been Michkov, Konechny for most of the season, right? But Michkov's right up there with him. And also, what if we come, everybody who paid to be in that crowd today, and I am so sorry for every one of you, because that sucked diddly-ucked, but, like, the people are coming to see Matvei Michkov score goals, so give the people what they want towards he. Also, this kid, we didn't get him for his defensive prowess, okay? That's not why he is here. He is here to generate offense. So you know what? He's going to make a mistake sometimes. You know what? We've talked about this before. Who doesn't play defense out there? Patrick Kane, Alex Ovechkin. Like there are guys that are just not good defensively that their offense more than makes up for it. And he's better than when he started here, but like I don't really care, especially in games like this. I don't know. Maybe I'm the jerk here, but that's how I feel about it.
No, it's like, I do think it could, the overall teaching, the making sure he has a foundation in the fundamentals of 3-zone hockey, I think is important. I don't think he can be a zero. And we've seen at least a willingness or a better understanding of defensive play help propel the career of like Travis Konechny, who was at one level, and then once he kind of took on more responsibility, understood it a little better, was a little more willing, became a different level of player. Like he's still over a point a game now, the goal slump still continuing, but he's finding other ways to contribute. He's still playing a ton of ice time. He's actually second on the forwards today. He finishes 3 seconds behind Tyson Forster. Forster played 23-25. Konechny was at 23-22. I will say, at least in Torts' not defense, because I'm watching these games. I want to see Matvei Michkov. There's literally no other reason. Mish does play 13:50, and that's with sitting basically the second half of the first period. It's not as if it carried over, but it's also not as if it can when you look at the bottom of this lineup. Ula Lixell, Jacob Peltier, Rodrigo Abels, Nick Delorier. Like, these are not, Ryan Paling plays over 19 minutes today. This is not an NHL lineup, so you really can't afford to sit guys. Okay, yeah, the end of, the final 8:50 of the first period. All right. But if we're going to turn this into now you sit there and be ashamed for the entire, final 48 minutes of the game rather than just 8 minutes, that's just not going to work. You're going to run these guys. Like, someone's going to get hurt because they're playing way too much. Like, 23 and a half minutes in a regulation game is probably too much for a forward, Like, that's too much.
Yeah, it is too much. It's entirely too much. It seems unsustainable. This next, month and a half of hockey is going to be so sloppy, Bill. Like, I don't know how we're going to survive this, because like these games are not going to get better, especially as they lean on these guys. Like, I'm afraid he's really going to run some of these guys into the ground as the season goes on.
Absolutely. We have a lot more to get to today. I want to talk a little bit more about the Michkov benching and how he's looked, how he looked today. I want to get to the D-rotation. But right now, I got to tell you about Ace Hardware Home Services. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever they get ready for the next job, they remember what to bring. They bring experience. They're local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. They listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you're satisfied. And they bring helpful to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Free estimates on equipment installation and replacement with trusted advisors and options that are best suited for your home and budget. Service you can trust, and satisfaction is always guaranteed. Ace Hardware Home Services are local. Their teams live and serve in your community and are dedicated to keeping their neighbors comfortable in their home. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. And while we're here, got to tell you about our friends at Rothman Orthopedics. That's right. If you've got aching joints or cramping hands or your back's out of whack, well, Rothman's got you. At Rothman Orthopedics, they've been practicing specialized care. It's been their passion for over 50 years because their mission, it's high quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser focused on their specialty, whether it's hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard so you can get back to what you specialize in, because they're Rothman Orthopedics and they specialize in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make your appointment today. All right. Yeah. So I can't say because Michkov went back in for the final two periods, like, oh, this is egregious. I will just say, though, the accountability stuff, while I believe it to be important, you do need a culture of accountability in a locker room. And it's one of the things everyone kind of hated about Ivan Provorov. It's not that he was like some terrible dude that no one wanted to ever be around. As a teammate, he felt the need he felt as if he could criticize everybody else. And if you criticized him, you were wrong. He's never done anything wrong in his life. Not great. We have heard Michkov, at least one of those, going into the draft character concerns, and I do put that in very italicized quotations, but like he can be hard on his teammates because he expects greatness from himself and he doesn't understand, like, yeah, that guy's not as good as you, man. So you can't really expect the same thing. And he's like, I don't accept that, like he's kind of that way. And I do think there is a part of this organization. Think about who runs it. Keith Jones being up top. Keith Jones was teammates with Eric Lindros. Eric Lindros, yes, he had a what-if career and still ended up in the Hall of Fame, absolute freaking superstar. Was treated like it with kids' gloves long into his, young career. And because of that, I think there was some resentment in those locker rooms, and Keith Jones is well aware that existed. I believe that to be part of the treatment of Michkov. Like, we can't let this kid, the fans see him as bigger than the team. We can't actually feed into that perception. Otherwise, we're going to have the locker room problem we had then. Like, I understand all of that. Also, I want to see him play.
Right.
Let the kid play.
Let the kid play, and also,
Fix it in film.
I'm looking at the stat lines right now, and he had the most shots on the team. He had 5 shots on the day.
Nobody else had more than 3.
Nobody else had more than 3. So, like, he's the guy. If you're going to have any success over this next month in Evan, frankly, it's better for the team if they don't have success. Maybe, let's send him to Russia.
Maybe Torts is in on it, man. Just
maybe Torts is in on it.
Little decisions here and there. Like,
the stealth tank is in. Let's go.
They're going to finish with like the 3rd worst record. It's going to be hilarious.
Honestly, it is. And like, it's great for the team.
Yeah.
But it's great for this year. And this is especially what I increasingly hear about this draft this year is it's all about like, you want one of the big top few picks if you can, because
you need to be in the top 4 or 5. Like, that's really,
So the tank is great. Let's get in on that, but it's going to be rough to watch. And I think it's going to be rough for guys like Matvei Michkov over the next month or so. I'm very concerned about this, like, after this year. Like, I think we can all live with it this year, but then like next year, you don't need to like really gear up, but it'd be nice if they at least started heading in that direction. That was always Ron Hextall's problem, right? Like, he knew how to strip the team down to spare parts,
great
right?
at it.
He knew how to get cap space. He was awesome at getting cap space and getting draft picks. Like, he pulled off some great deals to clear out space here. But then when it came time, he didn't know when to pull the trigger. He didn't know when to get Ryan O'Reilly and move in the, the proper direction. And that was the biggest problem. So that's what is it this year or is it next year? Matvei Michkov coming up, in my opinion, accelerates that. And I want to see them start to make big strides next season, because I don't want to see this kid deal with this losing, especially hearing about the character concern stuff where he is just getting pissed off at teammates for being lousy at hockey. And when you surround him with guys who are lousy at hockey, I'm worried that he's going to get frustrated.
You know who isn't lousy at covering hockey? It's Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, coming to us live from the Wells Fargo Center. Looking great today, Chuck. Hair is looking spectacular as
Top
always.
Notch. Yeah.
Thoughts on the game and did anyone even say anything after this one?
Yeah, in all honesty, the post-game availabilities were pretty interesting today, more interesting than I thought they were going to be. I guess I'll start with the Matvei Michkov of it all. Tortorella was pushed on his decision to bench Michkov for the rest of the first period. He got his usual shifts in the second, finished out actually with like a little bit less ice time than his season average, but not glaringly so. But he did get benched for the rest of the first period after the goal scored by the Devils. Tortorella was pushed on that, and Tortorella gave a pretty adamant defense of what he's doing in terms of handling Michkov. I transcribed the first part of it because I wanted to read it on the show. Quote it properly. The response was, "Let me tell you guys something. There are a number of things that come into play, not one specific play, okay? And you are at a disadvantage because I'm not going to give you that information. It's not always the play on the ice that I'm trying to teach. So use that as a context before you start all your bullshit. There are so many things that go on, and with me trying to develop that player, and we're going to continue to do it the way I think it should be done." So that was the Michkov response. Then he went into the fact that, yes, Michkov didn't back check well on the play. No, he didn't do the job in the offensive zone, but he said that there were other reasons that he's not going to tell us, but there are other reasons in addition to that individual play that led to why he sat Michkov for the rest of the first period. There are other things I want to talk about in terms of the players' response to the game, but let's discuss the Matvei Michkov of it all before I get into that.
Yeah, John Tortorella knows all the Russian curses, so that's what happened.
All right. This is the fact that it was only for the first period and it wasn't a hanging offense. I do appreciate. And we've heard in the past, like, a big part of it is the accountability thing. I need to keep everyone accountable, and you need to acknowledge the mistake you made, all that stuff. My problem now is, like, 33rd ranked power play. There's only 32 teams. They're ranked 33rd.
Somehow.
Where's the accountability for Rocky Thompson? I bet you Travis Sanheim dresses. He just lost them the game. Like, literally blew their chance to win the game by taking that penalty in the third period. I bet you he dresses next game. I get that you are developing a young player, and Steve and I just went into this, and I don't think Tortorella should be fired over this. I am getting a little fatigued by some of this, but also he's hilarious. So
You're getting a little fire him-ish, let's say.
I'm just starting to feel a little fatigued by the conversation, but that's not why you should make decisions, because Bill's a little tired of talking about benching Michkov.
A lot of bad decisions.
I just feel like this is a little hypocritical sometimes. Like a lot, like Yegor Zamula, did he get benched because he decided to do a slip and slide, but the puck didn't go in the net, so it doesn't count? Like I don't know. Doesn't feel like everyone is working on the same playing field here.
It's a reasonable point. And I think really it comes down to two things. Number one, and this is real. This is real for every coach. But you have that money in the bank. And we talked about it all the time with Alain Vigneault. Alain Vigneault was like, well, some guys have the money in the bank and they can make some deposits and I'm still going to keep them on the ice, and some guys don't. And for whatever reason, John Tortorella does not feel like Matvei Michkov has the money in the bank that some of these other guys have. He believes that, Michkov has to earn the ability to, make mistakes with his veteran status or whatever. So that's number one. And then number two, it's just a matter of the fact that John Tortorella thinks that this is the developmental project of Matvei Michkov, and he thinks that this is the right way to develop him. Now, he might be wrong, or it might just be that none of this actually matters, and Michkov is going to be what he's going to be, regardless of whether it's John Tortorella or Mr. Rogers coaching him. That it just truly doesn't matter. Could be literally the nicest guy in the world. But this is what John Tortorella believes, and he, made that abundantly clear today. I'm sure he went into the press conference expecting to go on one of these diatribes. He was planning for it because he knows that people are mad. He knows that we in the media are going to write about it, and he knows that the fans are going to chatter about it because Matvei Michkov, you said it multiple times, Bill, this year, Matvei Michkov is the main character of this season. Yes. The Flyers do not want him to be the main character of the season. They have pushed back against that. But the reality of it is, for the fans, understandably, he is the main character of the season. So the spotlight is going to be on him. And Tortorella clearly in this press conference wanted to respond to what he knew surely was going on during this game as a result of the benching.
All right.
I was going to say, if 47 points as a rookie isn't money in the bank, I don't know what is, but I also don't understand Torts' brain at all. So Michkov ends up with 5 shots on the day. How do you think he bounced back for the rest of this game? I mean, there's not much to talk about, obviously, but he had 5 shots.
Yeah, I mean, he made plays. Look, the kid makes plays every game. Was he perfect? No, he isn't playing as well overall. Not even just talking about the blown coverage, the mistake on the goal, but just overall, he hasn't been as impactful as he was coming right out of the break when he was every shift. He was doing cool things. He's not been as consistently impactful, but he's making good passes. He's getting shots through. He's creating opportunities. Like, he is one of the Flyers, it's hard for me to say because I know, Bill, you say, he's the best player on the team. I don't agree with that, but he's definitely one of the guys who does the most to help them score goals.
I would say the best player on the team is Travis Konechny. The guy who has played the best for the last month or so is Matvei Michkov, especially now that Kuzmenko's gone. He was pretty impressive, even though it was 7 games. Konechny's still productive-ish, but
yeah,
on this
good pass on the Drysdale goal, but he's obviously not scoring goals.
Yeah, and but 2 goals in 24 games.
Yeah.
Even if I believe him to be at this very moment the team's best player, I can't say he's playing the best when he gets paid to score and he's not scoring. But now, one more thing on the Michkov stuff. You said the Flyers don't want him to be the main character, and that's why they lowered our expectations in the preseason.
Yeah,
that's why they've done everything. We pointed it out the other day. All the advertisements and stuff. He's on the poster, but he's over there. He ain't even up front. Sean Couturier, Travis Konechny, they're up front, and then he's there, but he's not the guy. Do you think part of the treatment sounds like they're beating him? They're not. They just bench him sometimes. But some of the treatment of Matvei Michkov is to while the fans believe he's above the team, and listen, I'm guilty of that. That's not going to be the perception in this locker room. Do you think that's part of it?
Maybe. I understand where you're going with this, and I think there is probably something to it. Mostly, though, and I'll use it as a jumping off point, going back to what Tortorella said today about how there are things that we don't see, and he's not going to tell us about them because he's just not. He could. He's just not. But he could. He would be allowed to. My guess is exactly you're the coach. You could say whatever you want up there. My guess is that the mistake on that play where he doesn't back check that hard and then he kind of, wanders back up to the point rather than sticking with Cody Glass, even though he's uncovered. And if the puck bounces out to him, he's going to have a clear shot. My guess is it's not even just that mistake. It's the fact that probably, and this is a guess, but it's an educated guess based on what I've heard and what I've read between the lines, having conversations with Tortorella all year, is that these are mistakes that have been pointed out regularly to Michkov and have been regular topics of discussion in the famous Tortorella tape studies that they have, where he points out somebody's mistake in front of the entire group. And my guess is that part of this is that Tortorella believes, and this is part and parcel of his coaching strategy, is that if a guy is making the same mistake, he's pointing out in front of the group, and then the group sees him make that mistake again, and then the coach doesn't punish him for it, obviously, then the players start thinking this guy's getting held to a different standard than we are. That I do suspect is probably part of it. I think that was the reason why he was scratched those 2 games back near the beginning of the year, because we were talking about the big thing Tortorella was emphasizing was Michkov isn't functioning as the F3. Basically, in the offensive zone, he's always below the dots. He's never come pulling back as the F3, and it's something we've been pointing out regularly. And Michkov just doesn't seem to be getting through. So I'm benching him to make a point to Michkov, but also make a point to the rest of the team that this is how serious we are about paying attention to being the F3. We'll even bench the Golden Boy. Is there maybe a little bit of that in this? Probably. That's my guess. That said, Bill, you make a fair point about, for example, Rocky Thompson. This is a guy who's been coaching one of the worst power plays, if not the worst power play in hockey for years. And it's harder for fans to accept that Michkov is being held accountable for very real mistakes. The mistakes are real. It's not like he's invented them.
Yeah.
But then they have to watch the power play. A bunch of guys run around like chickens with their heads cut off, and the guy who's been coaching the power play for years just continues to coach the power play. I get the frustration. I do. It's
just one of those accountability things. And again, yes, sports are not a democracy. They are a dictatorship. But I do want to ask this, though. After, I think this was game 63 for Mish tonight.
Okay.
After 63 games, if the coach who is this great teacher, and I do believe he is good for this part of the rebuild, and he is a good teacher. But not everyone accepts the same kind of teaching. Not everyone learns the same way. Perhaps this strategy isn't working, and we need to figure out a different way to teach him something. I don't know. If the same mistakes keep happening, then it's on the teacher at a certain point. That's all.
I think their response would be he's 20 years old and they never thought this was going to be an overnight process. But I see where you're coming from. You're basically making the point of, like, is John Tortorella the right guy to be teaching Matvei Michkov? And in fairness, that's a question that the organization is going to have to seriously consider in the offseason. They will. Is this the guy who they want teaching Matvei Michkov? I can tell a lot of fans do not want this to be the guy coaching and teaching Matvei Michkov, but all that really matters in terms of what's going to happen is whether Danny Briere and Keith Jones want him to be the guy teaching Matvei Michkov.
All right, Chuck, I don't really even know, like, this game was, are you shocked they didn't tie it up at the end? Like, honestly,
I thought for sure that was coming.
Honestly, thank you, Travis Sanheim. You did us a service, but, like, I don't know. Feels like there should be some repercussions. But thank you very much, Travis. That said, I have a couple of thoughts. First, It is very clear they don't have 12 NHL forwards. Now, if they want to give other guys a shot, they call up other guys, but they only have like one other call up left, right? So it's not even like that's a legitimate possibility.
Yeah, I mean, they can do some gymnastics with emergency call-ups if guys start getting hurt, but they got to wait for guys to get hurt before they can do that.
Why not? It seems as if we have 7 NHL defensemen. We can debate how good they actually are, but I think we have 7 NHL defensemen. Why not go 11-7 the rest of the way? Because there ain't 12 NHL forwards. I don't know. Isn't this supposed to be a meritocracy?
Well, I mean, it's a fair point. And look, it's not like, you know, Nick Delorier is getting a ton of ice time anyway. He finished with 729 tonight, and, you know, probably there are going to be multiple games if he's playing where he's going to get fewer minutes than that. Garnet Hathaway will be back eventually, then they will have 12 forwards. But if they want to run 11-7, I'm fine with it. What I had heard on Friday night about Andre was that, you know, he was getting called up to play. That did not necessarily mean he was getting called up to play every night, but he's not going to sit for 5 straight games. Like, that's not part of the plan. The plan is for him to play regularly. It's not necessarily for him to play, you know, all 18, 19 games, but he's going to play regularly. And if they want him to play regularly, yeah, maybe a couple of those games, you know, maybe one game you sit Zamula, maybe one game you even sit Sealer, but maybe one game you go 11-7 to keep him in the lineup and keep him getting those reps. That seems to me to be a logical way to handle this if they are being truthful in saying that, look, we know Andre has to play and he's going to play. I don't think it's a huge deal to scratch in one game, but if he scratched, you know, Tuesday and Thursday and then sits 3 times, then it's like, well, then what are we even doing here?
So you said yesterday, like Sean Couturier acknowledged, yeah, man, like Scott Lawton, even Eric Johnson, these are guys that kind of spark the room a little bit. They're just guys you like having around, guys that make the work day a little bit better, and maybe that's impacting them. Steve and I were saying earlier, maybe it was pregame, like, I think it's more the effect that the trade deadline had on this team is they don't have enough guys, and maybe even the perception, like, what is this for? Like, we just sold in 38 days 4 top 9 forwards. Half of our offense they traded away inside of a month and a half, you know? Like, that's a lot of dudes. Like, maybe it's just the realization, like, this was all for nothing again, huh? Especially maybe for some veteran guys. You said you wanted to talk about some other players' responses. Do you think maybe that was that's part of it right now, more so than just losing their buddy? It's like, we're just losing, you know? We're losing dudes.
Right, like, where's the motivation?
Front office ain't trying to win, you know?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I do think that having, like, let me put it this way. I think that if they would have traded, you know, Kuzmenko and, you know, let's envision a world where they trade away, instead of Kuzmenko and Lawton, they trade away Kuzmenko and Ristolainen, and Lawton's still here. I think they probably handle it better.
Okay.
Did I lose you guys?
No, I got you still.
Oh, okay. You guys froze, so I wasn't sure if I lost you guys in the connection. I think they probably handle it better than they have over these last, you know, 2-3 games. Because I'm even including Thursday in that, because my guess is that they knew, the players pretty much knew on Thursday the Lawton was probably gone. That's the way they played.
Yeah.
Sean Couturier straight up said, we're dealing with distractions. I would guess that one of those distractions was they pretty much knew that their leader, their buddy, was going to be gone within 24 hours. So I think they probably would have handled it better if Lawton was there, just because he is that kind of guy who, when the team is flailing, he would step up into that void and say, guys, we got to get our shit together. Like, that was one of his roles. That was one thing he was good at. So not having him hurts. That said, I do think that they would still be struggling because they are a weaker roster.
Yes.
They don't have the firepower. They traded away Frost and Farabee and replaced one of those guys as a scorer with Kuzmenko. And now Kuzmenko's gone too. Lawton's gone. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. I'm sure it's demoralizing to know that your front office does not believe you have a chance of making playoffs, because if they did believe they had a chance of making the playoffs, they wouldn't have traded those guys away. They would have kept Kuzmenko. They would have kept Lawton. Instead, it's like, yeah, you guys ain't going to make it. And also, you got to handle this without the guy who was the big guy to help you handle things like this before. That's certainly not helping. What I will say, though, and honestly, the more I thought about it, I think the players, maybe I was a little harsh during the game. The players in the locker room more or less said that they thought this game was an improvement over the recent games. They felt like defensively, especially, they played significantly better, that the energy was better, that the bench, the feeling on the bench was better. And while it wasn't good enough, obviously, that they feel like they took strides. And the more I thought about it, I think they may have a point, because in fairness, both the goals the Devils score, aside from the empty netter, come off bounces, kind of bad bounces. And in all honesty, the games that they played against the Devils this year that they won kind of had this same feel too. It's just that the Flyers scored a couple goals, so it didn't seem like those games. It felt like the slow it down, boring it up style was a brilliant, intentional, tactical strategy to slow down the Devils. And that's the way I wrote about it in those games, that wow, they were really smart to force the Devils to play a slow down game, because that's not their preferred style. That is kind of what they did in this game. The difference was they just didn't score. So instead, it was like we spent the whole game complaining about how unwatchable it was. Maybe this wasn't that bad of a game. This was them playing an intentional slow it down style against a high flying team in the Devils. Granted, it's a high flying team that no longer has Jack Hughes, so they're not as high flying as they were before. But perhaps this game wasn't as bad as it seemed in the moment, because the lack of offense was more them emphasizing defense like they've done against this team in the past this year successfully.
Fedotov was pretty decent today, I'd say. I do think they did a better job defensively than yesterday. I don't think Ayerson was very good, but not a ton of help either.
Yeah, he got hung out to dry, to be sure.
Fedotov, I thought, pretty decent today.
He was fine. Yeah, he was fine. I just think defensively overall, they probably were more conscientious. There was better tracking, better play above the puck, as they like to call it. I think that was probably real. I think in a lot of ways, it's just, number one, there is a lower level of energy because of what you talked about them being demoralized, that they sold. They lost Scott Lawton. They've lost Farabee and Frost in the lead up to the deadline as well. So they've been gutted. That's probably part of it. And it's just also the fact that they're losing a bunch of games. So they're feeling real bad about themselves. I mean, we're feeling real bad about them too. So I get it, but that's probably a big part of it too.
Is there any way to rescue Travis Konechny from third line hell right now? Because seeing your top scorer playing with Ryan Poehling is just a bummer.
I think they have to do a full-fledged lineup shakeup at this point, just because the whole thing was they didn't want to break up the Cates line. That line hasn't been as effective recently, and they liked the Couturier, Tippett, Michkov line. I think they're due. They've lost 4 straight games. They haven't won a game on this homestand. They're due for a put the lines in a blender mode, and that naturally is going to have Konechny on a better line.
Lines in a blender. I love it.
Lines in a blender.
Eve 6. All right. It is now time. Good luck with this one, bud. It is now time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game, presented by our friends at Rite Aid. Charlie, no reason to delay it. Star number 3.
Yeah, star number 3. I actually did the 3 stars in the building tonight, and I did give a Flyer a star. I gave Jamie Drysdale 3rd star. It was that was a really good play.
Was it onside?
It looked onside to me. It was
All right.
close. They didn't
challenge.
review it.
Yep.
They didn't challenge it. Yeah. But that was just a really good heads up play. And it's exciting to me because it shows him deploying those offensive instincts. He basically runs a switch with Konechny.
Yeah.
Drysdale becomes a forward on that neutral zone regroup. And that just confused the Devils' neutral zone forecheck just enough for him to get some space and create that goal. Those are the plays that in October and November he wasn't even thinking to make. And the fact that he's now not only considering making them, but making them and executing on them to finishing goals, that's exciting to me. And I thought Drysdale overall in this game, like, he wasn't great aside from that play, but I don't think he was noticeably bad. And he makes a real good play to get them on the board and at least turn the final 5 minutes into something that was mildly interesting. So I'm giving him 3rd star for it.
Yeah, it was nice. I do love seeing him basically like run that swing route to get there, accept the pass. It wasn't like part of the reason the replay was so hard to see. It's like, I don't know, they're kind of far apart. Like him and the puck, it's not like it was right on the tape. It was more of an area pass, and he has to get to it. Like, it was good seeing him accept the pass and just, like you said, the instincts to run that switch. That's what we need out of him. It's encouraging.
It was great to see that offensive dynamic, the dynamic from him that I want to see more of.
And then the finish.
I mean, my big concern with Drysdale last year and even into this year was like, does he have the hockey IQ to be able to take advantage of his obvious physical tools? You're seeing that hockey IQ manifest itself much more than you did 3-4 months ago. And that's exciting.
Star number 2.
Yeah, star number 2, I just gave it to Cody Glass. He scores that game opening goal. This is a game to me where, like, in my articles, I always have turning point of the game. To me, the opening whistle was the turning point because it was just clear that the Flyers did not have the juice to win this game. And Cody Glass, by scoring that goal, just has the Flyers in their heads the rest of the game thinking, yep, we're just going to feel bad about ourselves. And this just ain't our year and it ain't our week. And maybe if the Flyers get a good balance and score, maybe they feel a little bit better and they get the jump that they did get after the Drysdale goal. Instead, Glass scores the opening goal of the game. And the Devils basically carried that for the first 55 minutes of the game. So I'll give Cody Glass 2nd star. Sure.
Let's round it out with today's 1st star.
Yeah, I gave it to Jake Allen. I don't think he was incredible, but he made some saves. He made some big stops early in the game, early in the second period. The Flyers had 2 quality chances to start out the second period. So he made some big stops when he had to. Didn't get a ton of work, but got enough work. He looked very weird on the Drysdale goal. He looked like a goalie from like the 80s trying to do like a pad stack. It was very odd. But aside from that, I think he had a very strong game. So I gave him 1st star.
Yeah, I think he just like was confused by, like, not even beat by a move, just confused as to Drysdale's intentions. And it was a well-placed shot. All right. That is Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game presented by Rite Aid. Charlie, thank you for joining us from the Wells Fargo Center. And we're off tomorrow, bud. Don't write anything. Do yourself a favor. Don't write anything.
I got to edit a story, but I won't write anything.
All right. Well, he's going to work no matter what, folks. That's why he's Philly's #1 beat writer. That is Charlie O'Connor. We'll talk on Tuesday, my friend. And while we are here, let's take a second to tell you about our friends at Shady Rays. You know, it's starting to heat up a little bit here in Philly, and our friends at Shady Rays are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Now, Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company. They offer a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people, and their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures. And the season might be coming to an end, but it's never a bad time to check out their ski and snowboard goggles, all available in both adult and kid sizes. And they have so many colors, so many different styles to choose from. You're bound to find something you love. I am a big fan of Shady Rays. Wear mine every day, whether I'm driving, taking the dog for a walk, whatever it might be. I love Shady Rays. I think you will too. So PHLY viewers and listeners, you can go to shadyrays.com right now and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars, so go ahead and check them out. Use code PHLY today at shadyrays.com. And, you know, why not? Check out Timeline as well. What is Timeline? Timeline sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. MitoPure works with the cells in your body to help reverse age-related decline. Sounds like something a lot of us could use, right? Benefits include increased strength, energy, and endurance. They have over 15 years of research and have secured over 30 U.S. patents for their products. The cells in our body are the building blocks of life, and Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. And right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY today to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY. All right. I do want to get to a few of the things Charlie was talking about. Ivan Fedotov. You know what? Let's make Ivan Fedotov our temp check player. This is the Ace Hardware temperature check. Let's take a look at which flyer is heating up or cooling off with our Ace Hardware temp check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. Charlie's assessment of Fedotov, it's very funny because it's exactly what I had in the timeline, Steve.
Yep.
He was fine. But
I laughed as soon as I saw that.
Ivan Fedotov, he stopped 20 of 22 today for a 909. Like Charlie said, both goals are kind of weird bounces. Even the one, like, okay, we want to blame Michkov. We want to blame a bunch of guys for being too low in the zone, whatever it is. It's like still weird, like just kind of weird goals he gave up today. Not really anything, you can blame the goalie for. And right now, he's on a nice run. He's stopped 75 of the last 80 shots he's faced. That's good enough for a .938 save percentage in 2 starts and 1 fairly lengthy relief appearance in that time. So that's our Ace Hardware temperature check. Ivan Fedotov, he's heating up, baby. He is heating up just like the weather outside. But I'm not saying, like we talked pregame, like there's no way they can bring him back, right? I'm not saying he's the answer or he's even a viable backup as a long-term solution or anything. Again, he's going to be 29. I do want to see him play more though. Like I just don't, unless we are just going to go full tank. Like I don't understand the idea of running Airson out there.
Even if you're going full tank, it doesn't make sense to run Airson out there every night, because especially if you see Sam Airson as part of this team moving forward, right? If you see Sam Airson as a tandem guy, you see Sam Airson even as a backup if you sign somebody next year, it doesn't make sense to run him into the ground. I mean, it is good for him to, I guess, get an idea for what NHL endurance is like, but regardless, I want to look at Fedotov. I don't want to run Airson into the ground, and just give him some more starts. I mean, he's interesting. I'll say that. It's always a wild time when he's in there. He doesn't break dance as much as he used to. Like,
no.
When he started the season, I wanted to lay the cardboard out for him because he was breakdancing every night. It was wild. And now he's got a much more standardized style comparatively. He's still a little wild for my taste.
He just loses his net less. Like a lot of it was just like he'd start to drift and like he has to dive back because he's like in the corner. Like he's outside he's outside. If the puck came to him, he wouldn't be allowed to play it, Like he's almost outside of the little what the hell's the shape? The stupid thing.
The trapezoid.
Trapezoid.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember that. Yeah.
My dude,
not my thing.
You are gigantic. Just stay in net and just like stay. Just stay. You're huge. You cover so much space. He makes himself so small when he's so big. Just, dude, come on. Just stay in there. Just stay strapped to the net, Goldberg style, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got to say, I am entertained when he plays the puck.
Yeah, no, he's aggressive. Sometimes it's fun.
Yeah, it doesn't always go great, but it's, again, I'm just trying to enjoy these games, There's
anything.
17 left now. I just want to see something entertaining. And more than that, I think Airson there's definitely a role for him. But if it's not as the number one, why are we using him that way? Like, Travis Konechny gets a ton of ice time, and Travis Konechny makes the money of a guy who plays a ton of ice time, and he's used that way. It's not as if, oh yeah, man, like we throw Garnet Hathaway out there for 20 minutes. Like that's the equivalent of that to me. Like, okay, he's going to play a role. Let's play him in that role and then work on filling whatever is vacated. Not like, well, we have to have a number one goalie. No, you don't.
You don't.
No,
Not in today's NHL.
Well, you don't have one, so clearly you don't have to have one. Otherwise, you'd go get one.
Right. 100%. Like, they could have gotten one at the deadline. Like, I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah,
it
fine.
didn't make any sense for the season. I am so glad they were realistic. But that's everything that made them realistic at the deadline is what is going to make the rest of the season painful. And if it's going to be painful, you don't need to make it painful for Sam Ersson. Sam Ersson, we want him to be good. He's young still. Like, he can have a future as a tandem guy, as a backup. Maybe a number one somewhere. I prefer it's not here, especially because we have other guys coming up in the system that I want to get a fair shot for. You know, when Carson Bjarnsson's ready, you know, when Zafragan's ready, you know, I want those guys to get that opportunity because they all sound like they have outstanding talent. So Sam Ersson can be a part of that, but like, yeah, just don't destroy him this year. Now, I don't know what the heck Fedotov's deal is going to be for this franchise moving forward. None, but at least get a look at him this year. And yeah, hey, he's fun when he's in there. Let's take a shot. I would like to see him take a shot down the other end while the goaltender's in there.
Now,
get a shot on net.
I was going to say, they might not have a lead for the rest of the year. So
No.
I don't know if he's going to get a shot at a goalie goal.
Especially if Tortsy is going to be over here like benching Michkov for whatever reason. Like, you can't be doing that. I mean, look, the power play's still a mess. 33rd out of 32, right? You know?
Last 3 years, they're 33rd out of 32. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. So the power play's still a mess, and that's not going to get better if Torts is benching Michkov. And just the fact that do they have 3 NHL lines? No, they don't have 3 NHL lines. They have like 2 1/3 NHL lines right now, and that sucked. Like what we were saying about Konechny. Konechny's stuck on like no man's land right now with guys that are just not NHL forward. Like
they're not.
Haley's an
top 9.
NHL forward. He's not top 9.
Yeah, that's the like.
But Konechny's your top scoring forward. He's your top paid player. Like, Konechny should be playing with NHL level talent. That said, I don't want to mess up the other lines. Like, I like the way Cates, Forrester, Brink play together, but you might have to, like, sub one of those guys out. Bobby Brink might have to feel some pain. He's the clear guy to come out of that pairing right there.
I want to see some Cates, Forrester, Michkov, I think.
I like the Cates, Forrester, Michkov, and then maybe reunite Tippett and Konechny.
Yeah, see if you can get both of them going. Tippett's been pretty decent lately. I want to talk about Konechny as well. 2 goals in his last 24 games. Obviously not enough. But he does have 19 points in that time, like 1 goal in his last 18 games. But he has 17 assists during this slump. It's not as if he's not contributing. And like you just said, you know, now, like before he was playing with Lawton, and we were like, you know, I like Scott Lawton a lot. I don't know if he should be centering your leading scorer. And now it is Ryan freaking Poehling. Like, again, I'm a fan of Ryan Poehling. He's a nice 4th-line player. He should not be centering Travis Konechny. No. That's TK's first point in 5 games on the Drysdale goal. How are you looking at TK's season right now? Because for the first half, he was well above a point a game. He had 20 goals through 41 games, and you're like, 40 goals, 100 points. Sounds good to me, man. And now it's obviously he's regressed quite a bit. The shooting percentage has gone down. His willingness to shoot has gone down, which is what has led me to think there's something going on, like something you can play through. And I don't care what's the matter with you. If you're on the ice, you need more than 2 goals in 24 games. Like, they have a lot worse players than Travis Konechny who need more than 2 goals every 24 games, you know? Like, so I'm not sure how to assess it. I think he's playing through something. I think he's still finding ways to be productive. He still plays in all 3 situations. But it just doesn't feel – first half of the season felt special with him, and now it's just like, kind of limping towards the end here.
No, I'm in total agreement with that. And – yeah, I do wonder. One of my favorite parts of any NHL season is after a team is done for the season and they announce all the surgeries that are coming up. So I'm curious to see if there is like a laundry list of surgeries that are coming up for Travis Konechny. I always think back to like Mike Richards and Wayne Simmons in that regard. Those guys always had like 3 surgeries on deck for the offseason every year. It does feel like there's something wrong. He doesn't have the same spark. He was crushing it. He was having a special year. I mean, we were thinking this was going to be the best Flyers statistical year since Claude Giroux went off for the last time, like really went off and had over a point per game. So I don't know what his current pace is. I'm going to pull that up right now, but it ain't what it was. That's for sure. It ain't what it was. Let's see. Travis Konechny now, if this is completely updated, he's actually under a point per game now, 64 and 65.
So that's what knocked him down, and he had the assist today, and it is a nice play between he and Drysdale. We talked about it with Charlie. It was great work by Drysdale to kind of get opened, run that switch with TK as they're regrouping, on their half of the ice, and then TK, I'm just totally lost my train of thought.
No, I mean, this is the kind of game that makes you lose your train of thought. And it was by the way, a lot of props to Jamie Drysdale. As I was saying, like, it's been great seeing that level of dynamicism from him. Like, just seeing him do offense like we know he can, because when he was slumping earlier in the year, that was my biggest criticism, is like, the one thing he's supposed to do well is be an offensive defenseman, and he wasn't doing that. And now he, isn't as consistently as I want to see it, but like he's at least doing stuff that is special and makes it worth it to hang on to a young defenseman like this and give him the ice time. He's a ton of ice time for Drysdale today too. It's been a big turn. He's actually one of my success stories from the season so far.
That's as long as he's like making strides toward where we need him to go. Like, yes, it needs to be more consistent. Obviously, he's nowhere near a finished product yet, at least hopefully. But the willingness to be aggressive and knowing how to do it and take advantage of that speed, like splitting the defense today, and his puck skill, like at least like that second year in Anaheim where he has the 30 some points. And it's like, yeah, he's minus whatever, but at least he is an offensive defenseman producing some offense.
Right.
Like, that's at least a sign that he can play a role of some kind. And then it's like, yeah, he's an offensive defenseman and he has 9 points. Like,
right.
That's not really going to work.
Like, even
now
like,
we're seeing a transition for him towards not just having a basis of the fundamentals, because they said, man, we think he was rushed to the NHL and he honestly has no idea how to play the game at this level, and we need to break him all the way down and build him all the way back up. So he gets his basis in the fundamentals, and now he's starting to take that next step towards using his actual skill to be an impact player, not just a guy in the league. Long way to go, but it is encouraging that there is something there.
Just looking at the last 5 games, he's got 20 plus minutes over the last 5 games in each game, which
Using him a lot. He was like a third pair guy for a lot of the year.
Yeah, I thought he'd be playing like 12 minutes a game at this point in the season after how he started, and him and Nick Seeler. That's a good combination right there. That's a combination where you get the defensive defenseman and the offensive defenseman. It actually works. But yeah, so I'm happy with a lot of the stuff I've seen out of Drysdale in this half, but Konechny's the inverse, right? Konechny, he spent a few games in a slump, didn't score anything. And if they're going to have anything salvageable from the remainder of the season, they need to get Travis Konechny back on track. And this is one of those things where I wish like hockey players didn't have so much pride about staying in the lineup. Cause like if he would have like a week of rest where he kind of like chilled out, it probably would make a bunch of difference. Then again, he did get benched for 2 games in the 4 Nations. So who knows? But I wonder what is up with him, because he doesn't seem right to me.
He doesn't. And we'll be finding out after the next few weeks. Of course, we appreciate all of you watching on TV. Head over to allphly.com for more of the show. And what's more, there isn't any. We are out of here. That's right. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be back on Tuesday. We are off tomorrow for the first time in a few days, so we're looking forward to that. But there's always content for you. Check out allphly.com. Check out right here everything we have to offer on our YouTube page. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. Get those notifications. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast as well. Just search PHLY Flyers. And why don't you go ahead, check out Flyperbole too. What Steve has been doing over at Broad Street Hockey, some really good stuff. So check them out as well. All right, that is it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Steve Jaco. Until Tuesday, let's go Flyers.
We all silly like the mayor.